All right.
Yep. There we go. That worked pretty well last
All right.
time, so
There we go.
there we
So,
go.
yeah.
So what was your
So yeah,
thing?
last night I saw the sneak preview for the new Hobbit movie, The Desolation of Smaug. So,
Smaug.
yeah, they pronounced
Smaug.
it.
Yeah.
I never paid any attention to the pronunciation of the name.
Well, it's hard to when
You
you're
know,
reading it, right?
well, I just Smog. Okay, whatever.
Hmm.
And there's all these different ways they pronounce it, even in the movie. So yeah, The Desolation of Smaug. But it was I felt kind of decadent going to see a movie on a Monday night.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like a
Imagine.
weekend or that kind of deal. And yeah, it was pretty cool though. It was fun. I mean, they had people dressed up, and there was a bit of a costume contest and all that great stuff. But yeah, it was a good time. But like I was saying before off air, it's tough when you are a fan of the material, because as a Tolkien fan, they really do create, like, they fabricated a whole bunch of stuff for the show, right?
Right.
Like they I'd say at least 2/3 of it, if not more, is completely fabricated.
Well,
Which,
how do you
that's quite a bit.
fill? Yeah, how do you fill 3 movies with what is honestly not a very big book? Like
No,
it's
I know.
it's a it's modest sized. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hear you. So, you know, uh, you watch it and you go, okay, well, you know, um, uh, I go in expecting nothing, and I hadn't read the book in a long time, so it was good, just a nice refresher to kind of get back there and just see what it's all about, or what they're doing. I really enjoyed the first movie, so I watched it. It was good, but they really add a whole whack of stuff that was never in the original, and you find yourself questioning, like, did I remember it right? I don't remember that happening, and it was good. I can understand why they made the decisions they did, but like, they cooked up totally new characters, and they added in, like, Legolas plays a huge role in this movie, right? And he wasn't even in the book.
Oh
And
no. Yeah. No.
all this has all been hashed out already on Tolkien forums, so it's not like it's anything new. But they made up a whole new girl, and now one thing they did, which I think is really pushing the envelope, is they're doing a love story now between one of the dwarves and an elf, and that, to me, that's just okay. That's, you guys are,
What?
you're
What are you,
pushing it.
racist? got-
Yeah, I'm a
What do you-
I'm a fantasy
what do you
racist.
guys-
I don't like Elven Jungle Fever. That's just wrong.
don't know what's.
No, it didn't happen, right? It didn't happen in Spike Lee should do do a version when elves love dwarves. Probably someone's gonna do an X-rated, like, rip off of it.
Oh,
You
man.
wait,
Don't-
it'll happen.
It's
It'll be
it's already been done. Just
yeah.
in,
Okay.
in the 5
Well,
seconds
yeah.
between you saying that and somebody's already gone and
Someone's like, I
greenlit
need
that.
to make an X-rated version of that. That
Yeah.
would be awesome. So anyways, yeah, they've introduced this love triangle, and sometimes they make those stupid decisions to put love triangles in. You can't help but wonder, is this just some stupid executive saying we need to have a female element or else women aren't going to enjoy the movie? Or are they genuinely just, like, some things don't need to be added just for the sake of adding them, I guess, is where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But they did a real good job on the dragon. He looks awesome, better than I could have imagined him, and just even his character. They really, like, if you think about it, the dragon has quite a bit of dialogue in the movie, or in the book, sorry,
Mhm.
and they really fleshed out his character. So, like, when he starts talking, and he's so vain and evil, and just, like, he's got no use for gold. Why does he go and murder all these people for gold, right? But just because he's got this insatiable lusty greed for something. It's kind of cool how they sort of flesh that out, and he just has this, like he's a completely evil creature, and I think in a lot of media or fantasy stuff, they play dragons up as sort of the good guys, right, or a misunderstood creature, or all this
noble stuff. Or absolutely.
Yeah, and Tolkien was the first to really in this genre. And Smaug was just pure evil. And if you read the back stuff in the appendices and the Silmarillion, I mean, the dragons were there was only a few of them, and they were just super evil and deadly. And the wars fought with them were horrendous. And Smaug was I think one of the biggest, baddest, toughest dragons, and the only one left, right? So I mean, it's they do a good job on the character and showing its character, and it's just, another thing they did that I thought was pretty cool is, see, in the books they don't really they never went much into what happened when the dwarves go back into the kingdom,
right?
Like what they see and how they react, and they really played up the whole dwarves fighting the dragon, so they actually add an element of that was never in the book. Like in the book,
yeah, right. Bilbo pisses them off. Kind of imagine, right? Like they're coming back for their homeland. Basically, that's the pitch.
They are.
But yeah,
that is the pitch. But so what happens in the movie is, they end up doing a full-on battle sequence with a dragon, right? So the dragon just doesn't, like in the book, the dragon thought Bilbo was from Dale, so he goes and attacks Dale, right? And then the dwarves, like the dragon doesn't come back, and the dwarves like, "Yay, we've got our kingdom back!" Yay. And then they, go on from there. Whereas in the movie, they do the full-on battle with the dragon, and they still don't beat him, but and he still flies off to do what he has to do. But it just kind of. It was neat to see, and one thing they did, which was a bit of a tearjerker, is they show, like the dragon. They never really talk about the human element or like the dwarvish element, but like the elements of the reality of having a dragon come and kill every single person in the dwarvish kingdom, right? Like, eating every man, woman, child, and how they dealt with it. And in this, which was kind of, in a morbidly cool way, but it definitely adds more texture and to the Tolkien universe, is they end up stumbling upon, like they're fleeing from this dragon, and they end up there's an exit that they made for, and it was the same exit a lot of the refugees had made for, but then it had been destroyed. So like they find the remains of people who basically starved to death hiding from the dragon, and like men and like women and children, and it's just a real harsh tearjerker kind of a moment, And
is that supposed to? Well, I wonder if that's supposed to mirror what would have happened at Helm's Deep, right? Was that? So then, if you watch all the movies, it's sort of a callback to that.
Yeah, I didn't. Maybe I hadn't considered that. I was just thinking more. They were.
Or maybe not.
Just trying to show what was going on, like what had happened, and it wasn't just the dwarves didn't all just get away and the dragon just took the treasure. It was like there was people left behind, people that got eaten, people that couldn't get out, like just the reality of that kind of a situation and how it may have played out, which I thought that was a good, in like a morbid way, but it was a good way to sort of make you sympathize more for the adventure and everything that was going on and the people. Because, I mean, in the book, Thorin's a real jerk, right? And in the movie, he's starting to get more kind of jerky as it goes on. Like, he was always arrogant and, just, a greedy dwarf, right? And, they make him out to be even... Now he's starting to get... Just, you're seeing more of his character, but he's not a nice guy. Like he is and he isn't. Like a tragic hero. Like he does. We all know he dies, right? but just some of the decisions he makes, you can see he's kind of. Huh? What?
No,
it was good.
I'm feigning ignorance about books written long before I was born.
Yeah. Well, you said before, you've probably read the Hobbit 6 or 7 times.
Yeah,
so it's a great book. I'm kind of debating on when I should read it to Lily. When I should get into that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a slog. Like we tried, I started reading it to Ethan, and we got a couple chapters in, and then wound up, going to these other different books, like different kids' adventure books that he liked a lot better. So, and kept his interest. It's there's a lot of language there, like, so if you enjoy that, then it's fun, but a kid's not going to get as much out of it, because it spend half the time going like, what does that mean? What is what is whatever, just some weird wording or an older English saying, what does that mean? And
well, I mean, he was a professor of languages, right? So he really just wrote the trilogy just so he could have somewhere for his languages to exist. So I totally get it. I'm not really sure. I thought about trying to get my hands on remember the old cartoon, the black and white, the 80s, late 70s cartoon version.
Yeah, it wasn't black and white.
Try to play. No, it wasn't black and white. I just said black and white. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe get that and show it to Lily and see if she likes it. Go from there.
Yeah,
because it's a good story. It's fun, and I mean there's some elements that they play up, like the spiders are just super creepy. They did a real good job with those. If you don't like spiders, and just stuff like that. They always make the elves out to be so super badass that you wonder, well, how could they even lose? How could they possibly lose if one or two elves could, like one elf can just rip through 50 orcs without breaking a sweat? Then how could they possibly see them as a threat? You know what I mean? Like Legolas just destroys everybody. It's not even a challenge to him, So.
Well, they just want to get him bouncing around, looking pretty, and there you go.
Yeah, I guess so. They need to have the reasons for their Legolas fancy, right? But anyways, it was a good time. It was a good movie. I definitely recommend it, but I'm not sure how I feel about some of the creative decisions they made. It could. They did it to either because they completely loved the series and they loved the books and they just wanted to extend it as much as they could, or they did it just to make a few bucks. Let's make a trilogy out of this. So you be the judge.
Well, there's obviously a fair amount of love put into them. They're beautiful movies, and they try as much as they can to stay faithful, if not to the original stuff, like original story. They stay faithful to the characters, or tend to. So
yeah. I like some of the stuff they did. Like there's one of the dwarves doesn't say a line pretty much the whole movie, like in the book at all. He's just there. He never actually says one single thing. So they made him deaf in this one. So have you seen the first one?
Yeah.
The first Hobbit?
Yeah.
So they make him deaf. And I thought that was pretty cool. And they do a little bit of stuff to flesh out the other characters, and there's a lot more character development in this. And it's beginning to make me think that trilogies is sort of the way of the future for movies now, because you can get so much more character development and have a broader story arc.
Well,
you almost feel like one movie's just
movies are getting their butts kicked by TV in that, like, now that they're doing TV shows that are just more brave.
Right.
Like where they'll do a lot of character things to really you know, they'll spend some time with a character, and they'll do things that damage a character, and then try to fix them, and then damage them again, and you know, really work on them. And you just can't do that in 2 hours. So,
well, I think Game of Thrones has really opened some eyes, and Walking Dead, because they kill off main characters all the time, you know, and and the content is violent and
and I haven't watched any
in depth and confusing.
Yeah, I haven't watched any. Well, I've watched a tiny bit of Breaking Bad, but by all accounts, they did the same there, and
I think the prevalent thought patterns before was, well, you can't do that. It's TV. And, you know, they've broken a lot of.
You can't hurt your main characters. You can't do anything to your main characters because people expect them to be there next week, and then when you get creators like Joss Whedon or somebody say, well, maybe they'll be here next week, but they aren't going to be the same. Like, we're going to do some damage to these characters in this episode. Like, you know, they'll do one thing, or they'll just flat out kill them. Like, that's there's definitely some precedent for that, and
isn't that Joss Whedon's sort of MO?
It'd be like, well, who does everybody really like? Okay, well, you know, we'll kill them, and we'll kill these 3 other people around them too, because hey, why not? And not even at the end of the series, like just partway through.
Do you think he got that way? Like, he got a lot of leeway to do that type of stuff because he was working on Buffy the Vampire? Like, who really cares about Buffy? Like, do you think it was kind of a place where he could just, you know, play around and?
I definitely do. I definitely think that there was a lot of like, well, what is that, right? And that people didn't pay attention to it. The fans did, and you know, obviously the ratings were good enough to keep it going, but to then do, you know, a spin-off and then almost a pseudo spin-off, and then, you know, you have to have people ignoring you a certain amount, or the people who are footing the bill got to be not paying attention, being like, whatever, are you making money? Yes, okay, keep doing what you're doing. Because if they were paying attention, they would never let them get away with half the stuff. No way. Like,
I guess. I mean, I was never a Buffy fan. I never really watched it or got into it. You know, I mean, I've had enough people gush about the show around me, people whose opinions, you know, I respect when it comes to cinema. So, you know, obviously it's, you know, there's legitimacy to why it was so popular, but, you know, I personally don't have a lot of experience with it to comment. But I mean, I loved Firefly.
Yeah, well, and that's
Firefly.
Yeah, you see the that's part of, you know, you can see it building in stuff like Buffy and Angel, where he was going with Firefly, or where that whole crew was going, because it's not just him. There's a whole group of people that all work together on all those shows, and now, sort of like Pixar, now they run all the Marvel stuff, kind of, you know, story-wise.
Pixar?
Well, like Pixar was bought by Disney, but actually, but the people at Pixar actually run most of Disney now. Like, all the entertainment products are run by Pixar people.
Oh, okay.
It's, you know, the acquisition actually was kind of the other way around, or it seems that way.
It's like, we buy you, and then you're going to make us
and
more
you
money.
run everything, and so then they did the same to Joss Whedon and all of his people, all the same group that's now doing
the Marvel
stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think Joss Whedon's ever going to go back to TV if he keeps making these great, you know, Avengers movies and stuff.
Yeah.
You know? Not unless he wants to, you know, like feature films. After how successful the Avengers was, he wouldn't have to go back unless he wanted to.
Yeah, but then you do get that, like we're talking about, where you have a lot more leeway to do things. So I could see that being a real creator's medium, like being somebody who wants to write characters and work on them over a long period of time. That's the only place they're going to be able to go. But now they can go to HBO, or they can go to Netflix, or they can go to you know, just directly to Amazon, or whoever it is who's going to front the cash and distribute the thing. And, and that's where the TV show comes out of. Yeah.
Brave New World, my man. I think it's for entertainment. I mean, the shows that we're watching now they're good, and you know, people look forward to them and they get into them, and there's a lot going on, right? It's not, you're not limited by what you get on the CBC anymore.
Yeah.
Well, not really, not much. So yeah, you have options, which is, it's cool, and you know, they take properties like Game of Thrones, which is, you know, a pretty established IP, and I thought they've done a pretty good job converting that to TV. And look at what Walking Dead's become. It's just this crazy phenomenon. Yeah. You know, people love that show.
Have you read the Game of Thrones books?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've only read like the first third of the first one.
Oh, okay.
And then I got sidetracked with other books and didn't get back to them. But so I've, you know, most of what I've seen through the show by this point. Which I still intend to read the book, but
well, it's I started reading it because I took on a job for Green Ronin.
Oh, right,
and so I was doing illustrations on the IP, and one of the questions the art director asked me was like, "So are you familiar with Game of Thrones?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've seen the TV show," you know.
Yeah.
But I really didn't know much about it, so you know, I gave myself a crash course in the show while I was doing the illustration. So I mean, I would listen to the audiobooks while I was working.
Okay.
And so I did that, and you know, I liked it. I like it a lot. I mean, the show varies in some ways quite a bit, in some ways not at all, from the books. You know, like it's pretty close. It's about as faithful as you can get. I mean, it's really complicated. I mean, you know, all the different characters and all the different story arcs, and there's just so much going on, right? It's pretty intense. There's some characters, like I don't really care for the whole Daenerys story arc. She just bores me. It's kind of boring, and you know, in the TV show, like the last season, she was just sort of like an afterthought. You know, like she didn't really have like
picked up pretty well, but yeah, it definitely started off weak.
Yeah, like she's just sort of like the last season. You know, you'd watch the whole episode, and then you'd see her for a few minutes at the end of the next episode. At the end, right? You don't actually. There wasn't much of her story, and her story's, you know, pretty important, and you can already tell the writing's on the wall. Like, you know, what's going to happen. You know, she'll return as the one true king or one true heir, and with the dragons, and save the day from the White Walkers. I mean, it's, you know, I've read enough to know it's going to be something like that. I mean, there'll be twists because the author does that type of stuff, but you know, he's building towards it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see how that could be avoided unless he wants the whole world to just suffer and die.
Don't say it too loud because he'll kill her.
Huh? Oh yeah, probably.
Because that's it. Like, what? Somebody's. Nope.
Better kill her off. Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kills everybody in the books. Like, everybody's dying left, right, and center. And they leave. You know,
the whole end of that book series gonna wrap up just like the end of Monty Python, the Holy Grail.
Yeah, probably.
Police take everybody away.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah. I mean, I don't want to ruin anything for you, but the books are good. I like them, and you know, I guess getting back to entertainment, it's nice that there's, you know, they put some real production value into it, and you know, the show. The one thing that sucks is that the seasons take so long to come out, and the characters, like, they're all like just children in the books, right?
Yeah.
And now they're on to season 4 or 5. I don't know. I stopped counting, and they're only partway through book 3. right? There's just so much more to go. And by the time they finish it, if they ever decide to, everyone's going to be way older than their character. Way, way, way older. But, oh well.
Well,
I think it's inevitable that they're going to have to finish it now.
Well, they said they're going to split up a couple of seasons and then do... I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I don't know nothing about nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Walking Dead just had their mid-season finale. I don't know if you...
You know what? Still haven't gone back to it. Did I told you?
No.
About that?
No.
Like, I've got all of the third season still recorded here, and haven't watched any of them because Jesse was like, "I'm out. I'm done."
Why?
Too intense. Too much. Too bleak.
Yeah. I get that. I'm actually starting to burn out too.
Yeah, and so I've I still feel like she keeps saying just watch them, but I'm really, because I have a feeling that won't be cool if I get partway through and then you're like, oh, okay, now I want to watch them, but
yeah.
So
well, she's right though. It's grown really bleak, and it's really, it's a bummer. You watch it, and you go, oh man, there's nothing good, and everyone's so bad, and like nobody's friendly, and everything's going wrong. Everything that could go wrong does go wrong. And it's just this next season though, it's got way more stuff happening.
This current one, like the fourth.
Yeah. It's good because they're no longer, when they're in their nice little tucked away prison, and it's you don't have stuff to move the story forward. Right? It's just the day-to-day stuff, which is entertaining, but only to a point, right? So they've introduced some things to really get the story going again, and it's helped. But like for your wife too, like I agree with her. It's so bleak, There's no hope kind of thing. It's why bother living in a world like that,
Yeah, and that's what she's just like. I don't want to watch this anymore.
Yeah,
just watch Doctor Who or whatever.
Yeah, it just stops being entertaining when it's just so depressing, And I don't know. I never read the comics. My neighbor Dan, he says he's got them all, and he says it's just one thing after the other. It's just more and more.
I've I've read most of what starts the first season, and then I kind of skipped around a bit, and I read a bunch of stuff about the prison.
Right.
So I kind of already knew what was happening or what was going to happen. So even though some of the characters that are in there aren't even alive anymore on the show, so
yeah.
But the basic plot points are probably very similar.
I guess I don't. I don't know. Like I said, I only read the first graphic novel, and then it's funny when The Walking Dead came out, the comic book. I remember going down to the comic book store, AD, and looking at it, like, oh, a zombie comic, and I open it up, I'm like, it's just black and white. The drawings suck. I'm done. I don't want this. And being really disappointed because there wasn't any zombie stuff at the time, right?
Right. Yeah, I remember that. I was looking at it at a Chapters and being like, this seems alright, I guess, and then read the first collected volume, and and then thought, this is actually alright. It was well written, and you're right, the drawings were not great off the start. It got better.
Yeah, I guess but that's what I do.
All the things that would turn you off of any kind of comic, though.
Yeah, it's just, if you like, I tend to gravitate towards, when I was buying comics, like good art, right? That, like, to me, it sort of that made it would make it or break it for me, and the artwork just wasn't that strong. It is what it is. It's really stylistic, and it's very reminiscent of the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles type stuff, right? The Eastman and Laird, like it's got that real gritty black and white feeling to it, and I think it's very suitable for the story and what they're doing. Like the art suits it because the art is secondary really to the story, if you ask me.
Well, I always think it kind of should be in a comic. Like it helps to well, no, I guess it goes hand in hand. Like it helps to tell the story, but if all you have is good art, it gets real thin really fast. Yep. Like some of my favorite comics from way back when I was getting piles of comics out of the dump was they were all not great, or they were all these like third tier comics that people would forget about. Like, you know, they'd just kind of let the creators do whatever they want. So the art was never great because they couldn't pay the best artists, but they would always get really good writers because the writers would get paid the same whether they wrote this or they wrote on a top book. Right. So then they would just gravitate towards these characters where they could do things. And then you'd wind up like getting these amazing runs of The Flash or Justice League Europe. Or I guess Animal Man was well respected in its time, but like Animal Man, like come on, who thinks about Animal Man? But that was awesome.
Yeah, well, you know, that all makes sense though, right? And
I guess it's that same thing as like people turning, you know, nobody's paying attention, so this writer creator gets to do whatever they want.
Yep.
And make something fantastic before anybody gets a chance to go, hey, you're making something good over there, let me fuck it up.
Well, you know, I've read anecdotally about you know, comic book creators and artists who, you know, they almost complain about working on, like they don't like working on the big IPs, you know, like the X-Men or Spider-Man, because you're so constrained creatively and so many stories have already been told, right? Whereas they're like, here, take Power Man and the Iron Fist and make them cool again, you know.
Well, like, they were always cool.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like, here, do something new with this old character, and you're like, oh yeah, like I think that's what gets guys' blood flowing.
Yeah, and, where they get to do this awesome run of like, there was a single shot issue of Daredevil that had Madcap. Did you ever see Madcap?
Nope.
Madcap was a stupid character. So he's indestructible. He's crazy, and he can hypnotize people. And he's a ridiculous character. It doesn't make any sense. And he wears a stupid yellow and red costume, I think, or yellow and black, and he bounces around and acts like an idiot. But they put together this just amazing single shot because nobody cared about this character. So somebody got a hold of him and went like, well, I'm gonna give him an origin. I'm gonna give him some reason to do all this, and I'm gonna, you know, he's still crazy, but he has some purpose to his crazy. And then Daredevil trying to figure out, like, Daredevil's like a secondary character in his own book in that one, where he's trying to figure out, like, why is this guy doing anything, and trying to talk reason into him, and that guy's like, well, that's not the point.
Yeah.
I'm just here to be crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, guys like Frank Miller, I think he really started to make a name for himself when they would give him, like, here, take Daredevil. Nobody really cares about this title, and do whatever you want with it. And he made some really crazy stories with the character.
Oh, yeah, those were good.
Yeah, and, you know, even he did the Wolverine in Japan, you know, just because he could. And why put Wolverine in Japan? And now you're looking to go, wow, that was a great idea.
Yeah, well, and then everybody from there on was like, I just want to do Wolverine in Japan again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, God.
Even in the movie, you know.
I still haven't watched it. I have it here, but we haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, it's
We just watched Man of Steel.
right.
Have you seen that?
Yep. What'd you think?
And I liked it. I
Uh-huh.
liked it quite a bit, and I know a lot of people didn't.
Okay.
And I don't know. I liked it quite a bit, and I think I know what the point is.
Okay.
That they knew that they have to build a whole universe. They have to build a whole,
They're trying to do the Marvel
leading
thing.
up to JLA, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or a JLA sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if they're going to try to build up to that, they need to pull back the bow really far on this one, and kind of forget about everything else. And I think that's what the point was here, that things that happened in this one will reverberate through all the future movies.
That makes sense, though.
This is me thinking.
Well,
Of course, they could go and stomp that into the ground and the next.
They'll
movie.
have to do a JLA with Batman going after Superman.
Well, that's the next one, right?
Yeah. Well, is it?
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman.
Batman versus Superman, and so then when they said Batman versus Superman, me not seeing this one before, I'm like, how are they gonna do that? And then I see this one and go, oh, I get it, because now it's like he can't be trusted to be, how would the world be safe with this guy on it?
Well, the wholesale destruction that takes place in
absolutely.
Metropolis, it's just, I mean, it's realistic. Like, if you had two gods duking it out, in Main Street, like, but the city's leveled completely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't, just like in the Avengers movie, you don't really recover from that. Like, how do you recover from that as a society? Like, that would change our society. Like, if aliens showed up and parked themselves in the White House lawn, that would completely shift the paradigm of the planet. Like, it would rock the foundations of all the major faiths, everything. Like, it's a big deal, right? And you see a couple aliens show up out of the blue and then duke it out and destroy. And one of them's like, yeah, I'm actually from here, but don't worry, I'm a good guy. I think that would make everybody really uncomfortable and like, what the heck?
And you have a character in the DC universe who is paranoia incarnate in Batman. So Batman, there we go.
Would you say it's paranoia incarnate, really?
Yeah, he's ready for every eventuality, right?
I guess
that's he always ever vigilant, ever ready for anything. Always thinks that the worst of anyone. And so he's going to be the one to say, well, no one can be trusted with this much power, and no country, no person, no anything, and I have to
take care of them.
Yeah, rein them in somehow, and that's your story, and then you take that Kryptonian armor that Zod dropped on the building, and you have Lex Luthor pick that up as a, and wear in the comics it's the War World armor he wears, right? But he, have him wear the Kryptonian armor.
Sure.
I'm sure I'm wrong with that, and somebody's gonna be like, it's not the War World armor.
Yeah.
It's like,
I get the point, though. That's a good impression.
Well, this my. Well, I already know if anybody knows anything about video games, ever hears the last one, they'll be like, it wasn't Life Force, it was Gradius that had the Konami code in it, you dummy. And I'll be like, fuck, I knew it. I
I hate myself.
When I was saying it, I knew it, and there we go. Anyway, there you go. Yeah. That's my take. That's what I would do with that movie, but who knows?
Well, I bet you're not going to be too far off. It sounds like a plausible sort of plot, and they seem to really, really, really want to, follow the mold that Marvel's put out. Right. I mean, and it makes sense. Hollywood's not that creative, so they're going to say, well, it worked for these guys, so we should do it too.
Yeah, which is hopefully whoever's in charge knows that DC's already done this. Like, because all the DC cartoon stuff, like they did it 10 times better ages ago. But you know, if they're paying attention to their own people, then they'll already know that, and they'll be like, well, we'll just do it like the animated people would do it. Because they haven't been wrong very often.
No. Well, their DC animated stuff's been really successful. So, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, we'll see. You know, I've never been a DC guy. Like, you know, I'm not a DC guy. I never have.
Yeah, well,
you know, and
I'd say me either, but I certainly was for a while through probably like the late 80s when Marvel was real glitzy, right? Like all the best artists were at Marvel for a while, and a lot of the best writers were at DC, and yeah, I definitely went to DC for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
For the writers.
Yeah, well, because their stories were so good.
Yeah, I didn't. I was like, no, DC sucks. I totally bought into the Stan Lee propaganda.
They definitely didn't have the better artists. Well, once in a while they'd have some really good people, but
they still don't have the better artists. So,
well, now they got a few. DC's got a few.
Yeah, but you know, to be honest, the pool is deeper now. You've got people from all over the world, you know, competing for comic art jobs, right? And they can be more selective, and you know, like the pool's deeper. There's more guys out there. There's some really, I mean, there's a lot of guys who are super talented that don't even work in comics. They do, you know, concept art or animation or whatever, but they'd be amazing comic book artists, you know. And I run across them all the time, just surfing the internet. Guys are just super good. So I think DC's been able to up their game because of that. But Marvel traditionally always poached the best guys.
Yeah. I think it takes a certain mentality to be a comic book artist, though. Like because of being, you kind of have to be always on for a length of time, and you have to care more about staging than your big posters, like your big poster picture. Because you see those people fizzle out super fast. Like you see the, you know, I don't want to call anybody out directly, but you see somebody like a Joe Madureira, who is excellent, like phenomenal artist, but always goes for the big beautiful image, right? Like the hero shot.
Right.
But that doesn't make a story. You can't have all hero shots, because then nothing seems special.
Yeah, I agree. Well, yeah, no, you're right. You can't be a one-trick pony. The guys who've been around for a long time, they're not, right? They focus on things like storytelling, narrative, design. Absolutely. You know, they're always trying to come up with a new way to do things and a better way to do things. So, you know, and that's the only way I think you can, because they're always looking for new blood, right? Like, very few guys can pull a John Buscema and work in the business for, you know, 40 to 50 years. Most of them, like a lot of guys, get in and then get out. Like a lot of the ones that I remember reading comics of, when, you know, like all those old Image guys, they're not doing comics anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like,
or they're running the show, right? Like,
well,
you have like Jim Lee, right?
Well, Jim Lee's still doing it, the comics, but
but he's the head, he's the manager, right? So
yeah. Well, I'm thinking
different role.
Not guys like I used to get all of the like comics like Backlash and Team 7 and, you know, those, anything related to the Gen 13 and all that. And those comic book artists like Aaron Weisenfeld and Brett Booth, they're not doing comic. Like Brett Booth does dinosaurs illustrations now for, like I don't know what scientific, but he does like technical renderings of dinosaurs.
Right.
Like that's his thing. And Aaron Weisenfeld, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not doing comics as far as I know. And he was a real. You could tell his influences were major. Like Ninja Turtles was a big influence on him. So yeah, a lot of those guys they're just not around. Maybe they burnt out or moved on to better pay, or the industry changes quite a bit. I mean, guys like even like Joe Quesada, he was a penciler, and now he's the editor in chief.
Yep.
Right? So he just decided.
Well, and he's yeah, Joe Quesada's like I don't know how many things he's into. Now by this point, like he does his name's on everything.
He's a smart guy. He's really actually done a lot of good for Marvel.
Oh yeah.
I think is that the first time they've had an actual artist as a penciler, or as the manager,
like out to the bullpen, up to the top.
Yeah, like a guy who's actually run the show. Who actually
it
draw.
might be one of the one of the only times, because you got him and Jim Lee on the DC side, but that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know Stan Lee doesn't strike me as someone who can draw, right?
Well, no, he was never.
Yeah, and that wasn't really his thing, right? So, it's interesting. I think it's a smart thing for them to do, and I think there's been a lot of Marvel brands, because I follow them closer than I do DC, but a lot of them have really had a nice renaissance because of the movies, like Iron Man. Nobody really cared about them, and then they got Adi Gravnoff on Iron Man, and there was a buzz. It's like, oh, this guy's really good, and this is cool art, and it's neat stuff. And I remember looking at one, and Ryan, a buddy of mine, brought it over, and Iron Man's fighting this giant metal dragon. I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, oh, that's Fin Fang Foom. I'm like, what? Yeah, Fin Fang Foom. Haven't you heard of him? I'm like, no.
What?
But no, I never heard of Fin Fang.
I've seen them fight Fin Fang Foom before.
No, I wasn't an Iron Man guy at all, right?
Well, he showed up in other stuff. I saw him. He fought the X-Men a couple times, and whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since I've been playing X-Men Children of the Atom on the Xbox, right? And looking up characters like Spiral and looking up her story, and it's actually a pretty cool story. She's a pretty cool character, villain.
That's just weird.
Yeah,
they're cool. Spiral and Mojo, super weird.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's and a really convoluted story, and Omega Red and
who came up with those?
Who?
Spiral and Mojo.
Her first appearance was. Is this a trivia thing or?
No. If you were looking it up, I thought maybe you might have it in your noggin.
No, I don't remember who did what, but it was like.
Because I've never ever looked that up, but they seem very British to me.
The characters?
Yeah, like somebody British come up with that.
I think it was
just, maybe not.
That 80s vibe,
yeah, it was super weird.
She's got all this convoluted past and history, and she's sent herself back in time to kill herself and capture herself so she could go to Mojo, and he just messes with her, and she's completely insane, and just stuff about the character, right? It's like, wow, who would have thought of this stuff? And it's like they were just sitting back at Marvel going, whoa, let's have some fun, whoa, let's make someone totally messed up. And I think her first appearance
having shrooms in the writing room again.
Yeah, she was in the Long Shot miniseries.
Oh, yeah. And somebody obviously was doing shrooms in the writing room when they come up with Long Shot.
Yeah. Why does he have so many fingers? What's the deal with that?
Whatever.
Yeah, I know.
I got tired of drawing his fingers.
Yeah, I guess so. But I know Will Portasio was the guy who did the Long Shot miniseries, and he's still going strong in comics. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know much about it, but it's funny playing the X-Men game. Have you ever beaten it, or
which one, fighting game?
Yeah, the Children of the Atom.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I can't beat it at all.
all them fighting games, I think I've probably beat them all at one point.
Yeah.
In probably one point in the last like 10 years, not like
Yeah.
I beat them all on emulators, not
No,
arcades.
X-Men was a game I really liked in the arcade, but it was always hard to find. It was always in like a obscure Max somewhere in some part of town you never really go to.
Really?
And then you walk in and you're like, oh, they got the X-Men game, I got to play this. And yeah, I never really got to play it that much when it was, when it first, like in 1994 when it came out, right? So yeah, I've been playing it a lot, and I played it, and I got to Juggernaut. That's the first boss you can fight, and then you fight Magneto next. And I got there, and I couldn't beat him at all. But I kept continuing, kept playing, and I finally, just okay, I'm done. I gotta call it a day. But I have never been able to get back to that to beat him, to fight him. Like,
Yeah, you can just turn the difficulty down on them.
yeah, I guess I could. But, I've been just playing it on the regular setting and just trying to plow through the game and go through all the different things. And it's really hard. Some of the guys like the it also depends on when you fight them. If you fight them early, they're easy. If you fight them later, they just destroy you.
Well, it's the Street Fighter thing is every third guy.
Mm-hmm.
Every third guy's way harder. That's just
Is
so.
that what it is? I didn't know that.
It's
Yeah.
there's and it might change from game to game, but that's typically there's sort of a rhythm, and
Okay.
the original Street Fighter 2 was every third guy was way harder,
Oh.
and so I would be just lamenting every time I got Ken as the third guy, because I knew if I could get him as the fourth guy, or then I could totally plow through and I could probably beat the game. But if I got him as the third guy,
Yeah.
for whatever settings that particular arcade machine was on, I would just get whooped.
Well, the way I found around that is when you get to that really tough one, you die and then you pick them. So instead of fighting them as them, the computer resets and puts a different guy in for you to fight.
Right.
So that way you can and hopefully that person's someone you can beat. But it gives you a false sense of confidence because you're like, oh, I can totally beat Colossus. And then when you fight him as like the fifth guy, he just schools you so hard. So anyways, I've been playing that, but I was doing really good and I was getting a lot of momentum and feeling pretty confident. And then all of a sudden, I've just lost my mojo. I can't.
Well,
can't
no,
play the
Mojo's
game.
not in there.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
different.
I just can't beat guys anymore. It's, like you just lose your skills for some reason. I just haven't been able to get back to where I was, and I know I wore out one of the controllers.
Yeah?
Like, well, yeah, one of the triggers and the controller's gone,
Oh.
and
I think I have two. I got a couple here if you want one. Like
Sure,
an
man.
old Xbox controller.
sure, yeah, if you're not using it,
Nope. Nope. We got. I think I got like 4 or 5 of them.
yeah. Well, you collect those old machines too, right?
Yeah. I don't know why, but I do. Yes.
Yeah, nostalgia.
Yeah. Misplaced is nostalgia because I never owned any of these things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Well,
Whatever.
they're fun.
That's my own particular psychosis, and I'll live with
Well,
it.
I
Actually,
get-
I won't. Everybody else in the house will, and I'll just happily play games through it.
Well, I get Lily to like we watch like She-Ra and Ninja Turtles and shows from my childhood, right? Like if I'm gonna sit there and watch cartoons with her, we end up watching the stuff that I like to watch, or stuff that I had when I was a kid, and she loves that stuff. We were watching Transformers the other day, and she was all into that,
I was trying to get the boys to watch Robotech, and they were like not having it.
oh yeah,
But they've already found stuff that they like. I've lost them. It's too late.
yeah,
It's too late, Kent.
Well, it's funny because Lily, other kids, I mean, Ninja Turtles are around now in their new incarnation, so it's not
Which
that
is
big of a
actually
deal.
pretty good.
Yeah, I watched it the other day and I thought, hey, this isn't too bad. But she'll be with her kids, other kids at play school, and she'll be like, okay, I'm a Ninja Turtle, let's go, and like or I'm She-Ra, let's go do this, and the kids look at her like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
who's She-Ra? Who's the She-Ra? And who's what Ninja Turtle? What? Like they're not into it, or they're all still pretty young, so they're not really into that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's fun.
I'm gonna have to. I'm keep threatening to get new joysticks. I gave my old arcade sticks to my cousin, so I'm threatening to get some new arcade sticks to put in this cabinet and actually get it going again.
Well, I have yet to use the cabinet, so...
Well, it's got no sticks in it, so...
I know,
you
but...
could come over here and jam your fingers in the holes.
Yeah, well, I want to actually try that cabinet someday.
Yeah, me too.
I remember I knew a chick back in the day who had their own arcade game. They had Pac-Man, right? But to actually have your own arcade game in the house, that was... blew my mind. I thought this is the coolest thing ever, And they had it rigged, like it still took money. You had to open it up to actually, set it up so you could, play it without having to pay. But it was just really cool. I mean, it really blew my mind. I thought it was, super fun. And it was Miss Pac-Man. That's what it was. Just the thought to have your own cabinet. So you have your own cabinet. So you owe it to your childhood to make it work.
I should have that functioning and working, because we were playing. I was trying to set up. I had one of the emulators going, and the boys were just like, can't really, because you can't really play them very well on the sticks and like on a gamepad. They don't really work. So yeah, I gotta get that going.
Yeah.
So that.
Well, how much work would it be?
Well, I don't know, it's not really any work, it's more just some money. It's, I just gotta buy the sticks, and then where it's sitting right now, I could just hook it straight into my computer and use it that way, but then what I want to do is put a computer that's dedicated to it in there, just like a little guy. Stick that in there, and then have, maybe get a small TV and put that like mounted on the top, so it's all self-contained, and there you go. You'd be able to move it around, or probably would just sit in the basement and play games on it.
Yeah, well, you gotta do it all. It's gotta be done. You gotta finish what you started.
I will.
All these years ago.
Yeah, well,
I was looking.
It still looks pretty awesome.
I was looking through all those emulators, and I wanted to play. Every time there's a game that I want to play, it's not there, or it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's weird on there, because some of them didn't. Some of them worked great, and then stopped working without having, didn't really change anything, and it stopped working, and I'm not exactly sure why. So I don't know. Maybe one day bring that over here and I'll fix it. I'll get
the latest, greatest stuff on there.
Yeah, get it tuned up. Or you could get. I got that little Ouya. Maybe I'll see if I can put the emulators all on there. It's a little $100 Android game machine, and that could probably play all of them.
What was I was gonna say something. There was one game that I was looking for forever, and I couldn't remember the name of it. But
describe it. I'll tell you.
No, I found it, but the game is it's like a side scroller where you you're the typical barbarian with a sword and a shield, but then you would go through it, and then you'd come across, you get a key, and then you could open a door, and then you'd have someone with you to fight with you.
Yeah, Tower of Magic.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, but I couldn't remember the name of it, and I wanted to play it, and I couldn't find it, and I dug around, and I went through every single one until I finally found it, and I played it straight through to the end. I'm like, I have to beat this game. And I found another one,
like a ninja with you, and
a thief and a ninja and all that stuff. And there's other ones like Knights of the Round, That one we used to, play it at art school. They had that in the cafeteria, and we used to play that all the time. So I played through that until I won it. My wife was all like, you just stop. Do you have to keep playing this game? Like, I have to play it till I've beaten it. I've already put so much time into it. I can't just stop. And there's no pause feature. Like you can't save the game. You just gotta do it.
Yeah, just plow through. You can leave it running, I guess, but
I could. I also played through and beat Final Fight.
Yep.
I'd never beaten Final Fight, so I got to do that.
And
that's hard.
I've seen people beat it, like on an arcade machine, and they must have put, I don't know, they must have put all their milk money in there. Like it's just a fortune in quarters.
Well, as I was playing it, I was thinking that because you die so much.
Oh, yeah.
And like there's guys who hit you once and you lose, a full third of your life. Just one hit.
Just think about what you would have to do. Like the logistics of going up to that machine to go beat it. Like you'd be just jangling like a whole set of the Old West. You'd just be your pockets just weighed down with about 50 pounds of quarters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was that kid that would do that. If I did I ever tell you that time I remember the Ninja Turtles 4-player game that came out?
Oh yeah.
And
remember it?
Yeah, the one I'm talking about, right? The classic. So that game, I remember I had a $20 bill. And back in the 1989, that was a ton of money, right? But I had it. I don't know how I had it or why I had it, or it's like birthday money or something. But I went to the arcade with a bunch of buddies, and I cashed it all. And I remember this moment, like $20 in quarters shooting out of the cash machine, and being like, "This is it. This is a big day today." And got all my buddies and we all picked a turtle and like, we are gonna beat this fucking game. And I just gave them all like a handful of cash and I'm like, let's do this. And we played Ninja Turtles until we beat it, and then we still had money left over, so we played through it again until we ran out. And it was such an awesome day. It was like one of the best arcade days ever.
And yeah, I don't know. I was thinking this could end one of two ways. You felt sad after that. And then I didn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
And then I was hungry.
Yeah, and then I didn't have any money because I spent it all on Ninja Turtles. But
I
loved
feel
that game.
awesome.
I just loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And even now, when I hear the theme song, like I'm watching the show with Lily, and I'm still like, yes, I love this show. I was a total victim of the Ninja Turtles, marketing machine from back in the day. It was great.
Did you ever read any of the Archie comics ones?
Yeah, I had a couple of them, but I didn't like them because the artwork just wasn't.
No, it was awful.
Yeah, it was terrible, and it just wasn't the same, right?
Oh yeah, that was. I think that's what everybody who cried foul when they saw that Disney was buying Marvel. I think that's what they thought of. Mm-hmm. Is that Archie buying Ninja Turtles? And
is that what happened? Archie bought them?
Yeah, I think they sold the whole thing to the Archie comics.
Because I think even as the Archie one was going, Eastman and Laird were still making their own version. Like they were still releasing issues of Ninja Turtles, the comics.
Really?
And yeah, because there was stuff released. I remember new issues were released later. I mean, I have one. I still have one of the ones I bought after the art. Like I bought it and it was brand new, and it was after the Archie one. Like you could buy the Archie one at the Max, and if you wanted to buy the Ninja Turtle stuff done by Eastman and Laird, you'd have to go to an actual comic book store. But the stories were all crap by that point. I mean, Eastman and Laird were bathing in money, so they're like, well, we're just more or less doing this for fun now. And the stories were just stupid and crappy. They weren't too much fun. Yeah. They weren't very good, but didn't matter. It was Ninja Turtles. I mean, I used to get the graphic novels, and those were, that was the goods. That was the good stuff.
Yeah, my one buddy always had them, always got them all the time, and I was out. Well, I was still in comics, but I was taken away by the the lure of free garbage comics. garbage from the dump.
Maybe you should elaborate that story, because someone's going to listen to this and say, "What?
You're from the dump?
What? You live in the dump?"
I've told you, I believe. No.
Yeah, I know the story.
Where my grandpa would get the boxes of magazines and comics, and that all the covers were ripped off of from the drugstore, and then I would just fish through them, and I'd be like, got this one, duplicate, don't like this, like this, okay, I'm collecting this. And then if there a month went by where I was following a series, and then he brought in the comics, and I went and rifled through them, I would go and I'd find the whatever one was missing. So I'd be like, I'm following the Justice League or something, and it's not there, and I'd be, oh, I'm in trouble, I gotta go. And I'd have to go to one of the places that might still have it on the rack, and try to buy it. But yeah, so I was like, I don't know, some weird sporadic comic buyer.
You sound kind of like an addict.
Yeah, I don't know, it's weird. I was digging through the garbage for my comics.
I need my comic book fix, That should be an article you should send to Wizard Magazine. My comic addiction.
I couldn't get enough, but
makes for a good story.
Got them all free.
Do they still do that with magazines?
What, rip off the covers and throw them in the... Throw them out? I think some places, but you think that's just bonkers. I don't know. I don't know how... It's no wonder the magazine industry is just failing, because that's madness. You can't survive and do that.
Well, I don't know. That's why I asked. Like, do they still do that? Can they still do that?
I don't know.
Like, every time you go to Chapters...
I haven't gone digging through the garbage for comics in a long time.
Well, every time you go to Chapters, they still have a lot of... Like, they have a ton of magazines on the shelf, and they're always getting new ones, right? So, sometimes you go there and there'll be, back, like, issues that have been sitting there for a long time. Right? Like, I always look at Imagine Effects, and there's always a ton... There's always a bunch there, and they're always like a couple months old. And I always, there's just got to be a lot that just isn't selling. So you think, okay, well, what happens to those? Do they throw them away? Do they give them to the staff? Or, because they got to make room for the new stuff. So it makes sense that they'd have to get rid of it, but what do they do with it?
I just imagine some boss hog looking guy in the back room just pulling the covers off and smoking them.
Maybe. Well, maybe they actually get their money back if they don't sell it. Maybe they ship it back. They just ship the covers back and get their money back. Isn't that what?
I think that's what they did before. Yeah. Which, just has the potential to be so super shady, because now you could just keep aside a few of them, right? Like you would keep all the things that you like aside. And as long as you don't care about keeping them in mint condition, you just rip the covers off, send them back, never pay for any of that. And
I'm sure that's been done.
Oh, has to have. I'm sure that's where half the ones where I'd be like, hey, I didn't get a comic this month. There's some, one of the people's kids has it. Not that I was entitled to it or anything. I was at this dump first.
Where is my garbage comic book?
I should go in there.
Yeah, I can see.
Write a strongly worded letter.
Throwing a fit, throwing stuff around. Oh no, where's my comic book?
Yeah. No.
Grandfather brings them to you out of the goodness of his heart, and you're like, you son of a...
I didn't have a lot to... Didn't have a leg to stand on there.
Yeah. Well, these things are important when you grow up in a small town, right?
Yeah,
you gotta have something to keep you out of trouble.
Well, because we'd been doing that for so long, here's the story part you didn't know about. Because I'd done that for so long, and gathered up so many comics, and I had just in cardboard boxes, and I'd take them and I'd put them behind my bed because there was a space between my bed and the wall, and so they would just be all stuck back there in just row upon row of boxes. Normally I'd keep them pretty organized, but sometimes
Sorry, you said you had a bunch of magazines stuck together behind your bed. That's kind of gross.
Well, not stuck together, no. Just nestled nicely.
Okay, go on.
Nicely placed.
Yeah.
And they're all
lovingly placed.
Resting back there. And sometimes I would just like throw them. I'd read them and I'd just toss them over there because they don't have covers and nothing. It's not like I'm going to be able to put them in any, I'm not putting these in plastic bags.
Right.
So I'd just pitch them, and there was just kind of like a layer of scattered magazines or comics and like animation magazine and different things like that, all laying behind my bed. And so just like a blanket of them, and we had cats. And so then the cats decided, well, that's a great place to go up and use as their litter box.
Oh.
So I reached back there like, one day, and it's just like bleh, like just cat poop all smeared into like, and it's not like on one. It's of course it's across like 7 of them.
Right.
And then the pee is soaked like 3 layers deep. So so I had to pitch a whole bunch of comics because
all your super valuable like, coverless comics have all been peed on. Oh, that
except
must have
for I
sucked.
would read them. I'd keep going back and reading them, but I was like, I had to toss out so many.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah, so don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't leave a pile of comics laying behind your bed because the cats will poop on them.
That's the moral of the story.
The more you know. That's one to grow on.
Yeah. If you think about all the different stuff we had as kids, like those, if you had all those comic books, I mean, that'd be quite a good collection. That would be, I don't know if it'd be worth anything, but it'd be a pretty good collection. For any I mean, because there's no covers, but if you had the covers, they'd be pretty good.
I gave a lot of them away to people, like when people at Renya and people at whatever. Like I just had a whole bunch, and I brought them in, said, "Hey, read these because these are excellent," and then just said, "Yeah, if you want them, take them," because hey, they only had no covers, and they might have had a cat poop on them, so whatever, they're yours.
Gee, thanks.
Yeah. I never told them about the cat poop.
No, I'm sure they would have. They might not have taken them then.
I was much more protective after that. They went into the boxes and were put up in a way, but yeah.
I can only imagine the smell. That must have been.
No, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
No, don't like that. It's too bad, but I don't know.
On an up note, I'm just about done this beer I was drinking, and you should try the Granville Island Winter Ale.
Okay.
Because it tastes like dark chocolate bars.
Have you been drinking this whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was that kind of a party tonight.
Well, I've been drinking this one beer slowly, so if that's a party.
That's awesome. No, I've had some of the Granville Island stuff. It's not bad. Some of I've had a couple of lemons. When you try different beers, sometimes it can be.
Yeah, you can get a bad one.
Yeah, and no one wants bad beer, right? So I've had some bad ones, but.
Well, it seems a lot of people like bad beer because there's a lot of bad beers still in business.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. But I can't say much about those guys. I know I've had 1 or 2 of their beers, but nothing I don't remember. Nothing really stands out to me as something. Oh, I remember this. You should try this. Last time I bought beer, I tend to be, whenever I get beer, I tend to be, I'm going to hang out with my stepdad, and he likes Sam Adams. So
well, that's
fair. Yeah, so that seems to be the beer I've been drinking lately.
If you're going to buy, like a big batch beer, you could go worse than Sam Adams, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I like it. It's good. It's not overpowering,
No.
and it tastes. It's not super expensive. It's actually pretty affordable, and it doesn't taste like a cheap beer. Sometimes you have, or it doesn't taste like it. What's the word? Like a Molson Canadian. It just tastes cheap.
Yeah, it's I find it too bubbly.
Yeah, it's just like Canadian and Blue. Those are beers that you drink when you're at the bar, as you're cruising, right? When you're actually when you start to develop some actual taste buds for good beer, you stop drinking that stuff. And Keith or Sam Adams, it's nice. I remember drinking a lot of stuff like Sleeman's and Keith's for a while there.
Yeah, sure.
And they're good, but you just get sick of them. It's nice to try new things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm constantly like, anytime I go into any of the liquor stores, it's always like I walk right past the big things, stacks of kokanee and stacks of, and I just look at them like, what are the people doing? Because if you walk back to the back wall, it's just like a glorious heaven of every kind of. Why would you never go back here and just try all of this? There's so many, but I guess some people just want to go drink, and that doesn't seem very fun.
Well, I've had. I always I ended up being the guy that you'd invite me over and would go watch a hockey game or something, and I'd go bring some beers, and I would be like, oh, this looks cool, or the bottle's neat, or hey, that's in a stubby, and I'd buy it.
Yeah.
Right. But I just had so many lemons. The guys were like, oh, Mike's bringing beer. It got to be that bad. So I had to give up, I had to be more conservative in my, my beer tasting adventures, because I had a lot of lemons, a lot of beers. That just,
like you go pick up some Red Stripe or something and be like, well, that was a bad idea.
Yeah, but it was kind of fun. Like Ted, he'll buy them. He actually bought a whole bunch of Old Milwaukee, just because he liked the cans. And you're drinking this going, well, I drink worse, but not much worse. You're just not too good. And when I was in that hockey, I don't know, did you ever come out for the Black Label Cup?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, the prize, if you win the tournament, is a case of Black Label. And that's not really very good beer anyway.
Nope.
So.
Nope, it's not.
It's like, well, I lost the tournament. Oh, well.
Yeah, I think I remember feeling like that. I lost the tournament. I was like, well, don't have to drink Black Label, so that's okay.
Yeah, there we go. We're all good. They still do that tournament, eh?
Do they?
Yeah, they still do it in the back of behind Jukes'. At least I think they still do it. I heard they still do it. I haven't gone out for a while to play in it, but they still, as far as I know, they still get together and they still,
smoke a bunch
cause
of
a ruckus
and
and
smoke a bunch of ribs and run around.
Yeah. I'm still kind of bitter that guy cooked all those ribs at one time and didn't share, or he shared a little bit, which is pretty good, but he made this wonderful rib dinner, and we're all sitting there starving. We just played a hockey tournament, and he's eating these ribs, and we're all sitting there going, what? We just have to eat these crappy hot dogs? What a jip.
Yep. Yeah.
But oh well. It's all good. So what are you working on, Owen? We haven't really talked anything.
I don't know. No, I've been just doing a bunch of, like, designing a bunch of things. I thought about, you were talking about that you can do a giant sword as big as a dude, and I thought, well, might as well do giant sword as big as the dude carrying it and make it look real silly. Should probably do one of those.
Gotta be super big. We just watched Machete Kills.
Yeah.
the second one, and yeah, he's just got a giant machete and he goes around killing people.
You know what? We watched Spy Kids 3 the other day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't know that that's the same. I think he's supposed to be the same machete.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's done by the same guy.
Yeah, but I think he's supposed to be the same character.
Really?
So he's like nice Uncle Machete. But no, he's not.
Yeah. Well, Rodriguez, you know, he's got a twisted sense of humor.
I think he's the same character. So I'm watching, I'm like, really? Uncle Machete? Really?
This is what he does when he's not hanging out with the Spy Kids.
And then, there was a couple of lines, a couple little things that were like, huh, I think this is the same dude.
How many Spy Kids movies have they made?
I don't know. I think there's like 4.
Yeah, so, you know, maybe he was just looking for something to, you know, shake things up.
Yeah, it was just fun.
Well, the last one, it's, you know, it's more just, it's a homage to those exploitation movies from the 70s, so, you know, how can you not be entertained?
Well, didn't it start out as one of the fake trailers in the Grindhouse?
Oh, yeah, totally. And
movies?
then,
that was the...
Yeah, that's how it started, and then...
Okay, well, that makes sense then.
People loved the trailer so much, Rodriguez is, I'm going to make this into a movie, and he did, and, you know, they must have liked it enough to say, oh, we need to make a sequel.
Yeah, because they probably don't cost anything to make.
Yeah, I can't imagine their budgets. I know, like, he does a lot of the special effects in his basement, and, you know, a lot of the people who star in the movie are just people he knows from around town, like other people from Austin, Texas. You know, it's an Austin thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good movie. I mean, it's if you like that type of stuff, you know, after the Grindhouse movies. I mean, that to me, that's what cinema like brings back so many memories of going to the drive-ins and crappy movies, and you know. So for me, it's like a trip down memory lane, but it's super violent, you know, and almost now. Like, did you ever see A Hobo with a Shotgun?
No.
Yeah.
I think I might have it.
Okay.
I haven't watched it.
It's like Rutger Hauer as Hobo with a Shotgun, and it's full on, super violent type of movie, same as these other ones, but it's just too violent. It's too much, you know. Like I had to stop watching it. Like this isn't even entertaining anymore. It's just too over the top, right?
Yeah. It passes the. There's a certain. Like if you watch all the old Trauma movies, there's sort of a cartoon nature to all the violence in there. There's a lot of violence, but it's all very. It's anvil on the head nonsense. Like it's cartoony. It's bizarre, and there's a definite step past that you can take. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, this is not even fun anymore.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I got with the Hobo with a Shotgun. I just had to stop watching it, and I was pretty pumped to see it because you know that had that same sort of Hobo with a Shotgun, come and see, you know, and you're like, yes, I have to see this. And then you watch it, it's just so violent, the characters and the characterizations and the way it's going. You're just like, you know, this isn't entertainment. You know, maybe I just grew up, but it's just. To me, it just wasn't entertaining.
You know what always gets me is I don't like it when there is no character with any good qualities.
Okay.
Like you find that in a movie where you're watching a movie and all the characters are despicable, horrible people.
Oh, okay, like some of the Tarantino movies.
They don't have any good qualities.
Yeah.
Like you watch Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So they're terrible people. Yeah. Like you know they're terrible people. But they all are. They're all very. They're very honorable. Like that's their saving grace. That's their good character trait. Is that they're kind of in it together. Right. And they're awful, but. But they have a redeeming trait. So you can kind of see them as a person.
Okay.
But you watch. Well, I don't particularly like the movie Heat. Everybody likes Heat. I don't like it because none of the people in it are in any way sympathetic. They're awful.
You know, I don't remember much about Heat. That's Val Kilmer and Pacino, right?
Yeah, and
Or De Niro.
De Niro and Pacino, and yeah, it's got Val Kilmer in it. And,
Yeah.
Michael Madsen.
Okay.
They're,
No, yeah.
it's it's a well-made movie, and I appreciated that, but it's just full of awful people being awful,
Okay.
and you can't get behind anybody.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this makes me feel skeezy. Because
Yeah.
I've never met a person in real life who doesn't have some decent trait. Like, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are just hideous. But, nobody I've actually talked to is just thoroughly evil or terrible. So none of that feels real, and it just falls flat. So I don't know. I'm griping about movies.
Yeah, well,
There's no,
Yeah.
there's nothing good to be had for griping about movies.
yeah,
I'll just talk about good movies.
Well, like we pay a lot of money to see these movies, and
And well,
we
I'm
have
not
the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have the right to at least critique them. It's what we like and what we don't like. I think cinema it says a lot about social commentary. It's like what's going on in our. Like you can watch a movie and kind of get a like what is prevalent at the time. Like that's why I like watching old movies. Like what are people thinking at the time, or like how does this relate to the culture going on at the time, and then to me, I think there's probably a lot of people smarter than me, sociologists or whatever, who would probably get a lot more out of these movies. And looking back, it's like a cultural record. What's important at the time, and they're relevant to us to a degree. A lot of it affects our pop culture. For me, I work in entertainment, right? So I have to kind of be up to snuff on what's going on, what's popular. What look is in right now, and
What's hot in New York this week?
well,
Yeah.
just like from the art world, like when Gears of War came out, everybody needed to have fucking moon boots with weird glowy shit for no good reason, and and that's what they wanted. I even had clients like, it's got to look like Gears of War without being Gears of War. Yeah, I've heard those comments. I've fielded those comments from clients. So, you got to know what's going on, or else.
Yeah. And then you have to tell them, but that's not actually good, right? You know that's not. It's not actually good.
Yeah, well,
Actually, the character designs minus the glowy bits, I don't mind.
no,
in Gears, but they're
they're innovative for the time and for what they are, right?
But the glowy bits but they don't make any damn sense.
Well, glowing for the sake of glowing, okay, why?
That's why I glow.
Yeah, do you glow where? If you're going into combat, do you really want to have a big giant, glowing bullseye on your chest or on your back?
Well,
does that make sense?
Yeah, wasn't that why Batman did it?
I think so. I don't know. It just that kind of stuff just to me is stupid. But anyways.